Welcome in, Cowboys Nation, to a brand new edition of Inside Cowboys Training Camp, driven by Ford. We are once again on site here in Oxnard, California, alongside Haley Sutton. I'm Kyle Yeomans, and this is the Back to Football Saturday that the NFL has put forward, and the fans have certainly answered the call. The atmosphere has been crazy all day long, and you can really feel the fact that football is back.
Yeah, it's kind of hard not to feel the energy when Cowboys fans are backed up all the way on the highway, causing all kinds of traffic just to get out here to watch their Dallas Cowboys play. So it's exciting for the fans, but it's exciting for us, too, to really continue to get to know this Dallas Cowboys team and what we can expect from them this season.
Our colleague, Mickey Spagnola, told me this morning that when he was on his morning bike ride, as he loves to do here in Oxnard, he saw 250 cars 90 minutes before the gates even opened.
Wow.
So not even practice. That's before gates opening here in Oxnard. Well, the Cowboys put on a show again, their third practice out here in Oxnard that's been open to the public. And, I mean, overall, you've really looked at this offense with a little bit of an asterisk because the pads haven't been on. But we've gotten our first look at the running back situation. Has anybody stood out in the early days that have been carrying the football well?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing you have to hit on is Tony Pollard, obviously. It's so good to see him back out there and really moving well. It feels like that ankle really isn't causing him any issue. You mentioned no pads. We know this isn't 100%, but it's still good just to see him get going. But really, in terms of the rest of the room, I've been impressed with Deuce Vaughn. And I say that knowing his size, you can see how he stacks up against some of these other guys. But, man, is he shifty. He is quick. He is able to kind of use the offensive line in front of him, almost like trees, and then break through, and it's hard for the defense to track him. So I've been really impressed with Deuce Vaughn's play and his mentality going into the season. And Malik Davis as well. That's a guy, in my opinion, who kind of is challenging Rojo for that running back 2 spot. So definitely some good stuff in that room.
Deuce Vaughn, just 5'5", 170, and there's already clips on the internet going viral of him taking some cuts and getting away from defenders. And, again, no pads on, so got to take it with a grain of salt, but certainly something to be excited about. Something else to be excited about is the growth of these young cornerbacks, most notably Nahshon Wright, who has had a great first 3 practices. He intercepted Dak Prescott on a deep ball earlier in the week. What have you seen from Nahshon Wright early, and how has he grown into that role, trying to earn a spot in the rotation?
Well, I think he really got put on notice last season with the Anthony Brown injury and really kind of having to fill that role pretty quickly. He did well last year, but when Micah Parsons says he's the guy that you should be paying attention to, if you're a Cowboys fan, then you got to definitely pay attention to it. I like Nahshon Wright. I love his length. I like his potential. I like how he's able to move and all of that. So it's really been exciting to see him kind of step into that role. But he's going to have some opportunities to get involved, and he's got some great teachers in front of him as well.
He's got the length that Dan Quinn always loves at that cornerback position. He has been since he was taken 99th overall back in 2021. So Nahshon Wright trying to step up and earn some playing time in a crowded cornerback room, which is good to hear finally for Cowboys Nation that they've got some cornerback depth to play with. But when we come back, we're going to hear about the depth at edge rusher. Micah Parsons has some high expectations for this Cowboys defense. What did he say they could match up to be like going into 2023? We'll tell you next with more Inside Cowboys Training Camp, driven by Ford.
Inside Cowboys Training Camp, presented by Ford, is brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And by your Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas.
Go Cowboys!
This segment is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, official sporting goods retailer of the Dallas Cowboys.
Where I think this defense could be, I think we could be up there with, the 49 a great defense. I think we could be up there with the Ray Lewis's of defenses. I think we could be up there with the Legion of Boom, just with the talent we have, the vet guys mixed in with young guys, the experience that we all have. Because I just feel like, since my rookie year, we got thrown in the fire, and we just keep building that experience of tough games, hard games, playoff-level games. I don't think there's a guy on our team that don't have a playoff experience, besides obviously the guys that just came in.
Welcome back to Inside Cowboys Training Camp, driven by Ford. Haley Sutton alongside Kyle Yeomans, and we are so excited to once again be joined by our very own Nick Eatman. Nick, we officially have 1 week of practice in the book here at Cowboys Training Camp. A lot of headlines to get to, but I want to ask you about the Lion, Micah Parsons. We obviously had a chance to hear from him earlier this week. What did you take away from that press conference, and what are your expectations of him?
Well, I think when I didn't ever cover Michael Jordan, but I would think, and yeah, I'm going there. I would think that if you are the best and you feel like you're the best, then the expectations have to be there. It has to be Super Bowl. It has to be we're the best team here. We're better than any team in our division and in the conference and the league. And so I just think that's his mentality. I think, he's the biggest lion in the jungle. I mean, that's what it is, and he feels that way. And I think he has to kind of carry that torch. So everything he says. It's kind of like, wow, you really went there, but I think he believes it, and that's healthy, I think.
No, it is healthy, and you could hear just the confidence coming in off of that shot at the top of the segment. And he talked about the Legion of Boom. He talked about the 49ers defense. I mean, he's putting lofty expectations on this team, but it's not just up to Micah. It's up to the other 10 guys that are on the field at that any given moment. So who else needs to step up in order for those expectations to be met?
The big boys in the middle. That's the one. I think you look at all those edge rushers and you think, wow, Micah, Tank, Dorrance, Sam Williams. I think Sam Williams has a chance to really take this to another level. But the middle, Mozzie Smith, Hankins, Osa, Gallimore, those guys right there, if you shore that up and make them go to the outside, that's where the speed hits, I think this is going to be a really nasty defense, but it does start in the middle.
Stop me if you've heard this before, Nick. The Cowboys are currently having a kicking competition out here at training camp. They obviously added Brandon Aubrey earlier this offseason, but they also had Tristan Vizcaino on the roster. I mean, same old song and dance, or does this look different?
Same old song and dance. I mean, it doesn't look different. And I say this with all due respect to Bones, John Fossil. The competition he says is going to start this week, but I don't really believe this is where it starts because it could end poorly here. If you miss kicks here or you make kicks here, it all matters what happens in the preseason. But I'll say this, and regular season and the playoffs for that matter. But it's a tough place to have a kicking competition. It's windy all the time. You're kind of kicking against the wind. So it's tough to look good out here. Jonathan Garibay from last year can tell you that.
Yeah, Jonathan Garibay, Lirim Hajrullahu, and then neither one of them was the kicker going into week one. It was Brett Maher, who, of course, isn't the kicker anymore on this Cowboys roster. So you don't have to go very far back to see just how this could certainly play out. And even if these two guys have a great camp, they've got to take it into the preseason and then, of course, into the regular season. Nick Eatman joining us here on Inside Cowboys Training Camp, driven by Ford. Nick, thanks so much. We'll talk to you again down the line. But when we come back, QB1 turns 30. We'll say happy birthday to Dak Prescott and take an inside look at the celebration.
This segment was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, official sporting goods retailer of the Dallas Cowboys.
Go Cowboys!
Welcome back to the final segment of Inside Cowboys Training Camp, driven by Ford alongside Haley Sutton. I'm Kyle Yeomans, wrapping things up from Oxnard. And the back-to-football celebration wasn't the only celebration the Cowboys had on Saturday. It was also Dak Prescott's 30th birthday, and he said it the other day, it goes by very fast.
It does. As someone who's also creeping up closer to that 30 mark, I understand where he's coming from in terms of it going by quickly, but I just love the development of Dak Prescott, and even going into year 30, long before that, the leadership that he was able to have, the maturity that he's able to have in this position that is the quarterback of America's team. It's really incredible, but I think the best part about it is that these young guys have no issues wanting to follow him. He talked about that trip to Atlanta and how they kind of made fun of him for being the old guy on there, but on the flip side of that, you also see the respect that they have for this quarterback. This is a seasoned veteran who's excited to be the leader, and I'm excited for him this season.
CeeDee Lamb was talking about it at length on Saturday, talking about, well, he is the old guy in the room now, and he's definitely going to make sure Dak Prescott hears it. Happy birthday, Dak, from us to you on Inside Cowboys Training Camp. We'll see you, Cowboys Nation, tomorrow with more.
Inside Cowboys Training Camp, presented by Ford, was brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And by your Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas.
Go